As the war with Russia is ongoing, the Ukrainian government has ordered some restrictions and alerts to its people in response to any possible threats from Russian forces. Our journalist Iqbal Himawan is now in Kiev to report the recent situation there. Iqbal, tell us, how is the situation in Kiev and how are people continuing their daily lives amid possible threats from Russian shellings?
Yes, as you mentioned earlier, Krishna, we still hear a red alert just yesterday when we arrived from the station, and then we make our way to the nearest supermarket to get some groceries and also the local SIM card. We have one air raid siren or alert on our phone, which means the people or the residents around Kiev have to evacuate themselves to the nearest bunker or to the nearest shelters. This is still happening up until now, even though if we compared with the early days of the Russian invasion on February 24th on 22, it's still pretty much relaxed situation compared to the first invasion. But psychologically speaking, the residents are still aware, even though it's more relaxed. But whenever the air raid siren on, they have to go to the shelter or to the bunkers. And also they always monitor the latest situation on the battleground from a Telegram channel or in the government's apps that's called Kiev Digital. There they can monitor the latest situation in the battleground where probably their father or their uncle are going for war in the battlefront in Ukraine. And also we saw some schools and also some shops are still open, or some restaurants are open, business as usual, even though some or most of the schools still conducting online studies. But hospitals and also malls are still open, though some international brands are closing their business right after the martial law was being applied. It has been extended for the 6th times after the very first invasion. It was approved by the Verkhovna Rada or the Ukrainian parliament up until the May 20th, 2023, because there's no sign of peace in the near future, Krishna.
Iqbal, from what you've experienced and seen so far, is the threat of Russian shellings, the frequency of it, is it still quite high at the moment? Is it still quite dangerous?
Talk about Russian shelling or threat. Yeah, we talked to some residents that they're still traumatized with the sounds of the shelling, and also even though they're in the capital Kiev, they feel like they have to, protect their families or go to the shelters or to the bunkers, and then this what makes them, even though they're still doing their activity as normal as per usual, but they have to be aware all the time, Krishna.
Psychological concern is there all the time from what you're reporting. Now, Iqbal, I want to ask you, President Zelensky is now in Brussels after visiting London and Paris earlier. He joins with European leaders in the EU summit. Do you see important moves taken by Zelensky in the EU?
Yes, it's true. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have arrived in Brussels on Thursday morning to attend a European Union summit, as you mentioned, Krishna, that has been described as a signal of European solidarity and community. Earlier, Zelensky have met UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak in London and then met French President Emmanuel Macron alongside German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in the French capital. The EU is in the midst of brokering a new sanctions package that worth some 10 billion euro, or equally 10.7 billion US dollars, anniversary of the Russian invasion in Ukraine. Zelensky European tour and pleas for more advanced weapons come as Ukraine braces for an expected Russian offensive and hatches its own plans to retake land held by Moscow's forces. And earlier, Zelensky also met with the European Parliament, welcomed by European Parliament President Roberta Metsola, and said to journalists that, I'm going to quote this parliament has been with Ukraine since day one, and what we confirm today is that we will continue to stay with Ukraine until victory, the deserved victory, is gotten. The Western support has been key to keep surprisingly stiff defense, with the two sides are engaged in grinding battles. And President Zelensky thanked France and Germany's help. Let's hear what he has to say.
But thank you very much. Франція і Німеччина мають потенціал game changers. І саме так я бачу сьогодні наші переговори. Все очевидно, чим раніше Україна зможе отримати потужну зброю, далекобійну, Еммануеля, чим раніше наші пілоти зможуть отримати сучасні літаки. Олафе, чим міцніше буде наша коаліція танкова. Я вам вдячний за те, що ви почали цей шлях. І тим швидше закінчиться ця агресія Росії. І ми повернемо Європі впевнений